Hello, welcome to my reaction video for African World Cup qualifying from the 5th of September. So yesterday was an interesting day. The bulk of the second match day of the international break for African World Cup qualifying took place. So let's just jump right in. So Group A, the DR Congo really squandered a golden opportunity to go ahead in this group, ahead of Tunisia. All the way up until the 77th minute, they led 2-0. 2-0 in the 77th minute, and they just couldn't hold on to it at home. If they had won, they would have gone up to 9 points, level with Tunisia, but ahead on goal difference, putting them in the driver's seat of this group because Tunisia's fate would no longer be in their own destiny afterwards with the two remaining games in this group. An own goal followed by another goal scored just a couple of minutes later by Anis to make it 2-2. Tunisia, the Carthage Eagles, getting a draw in the Democratic Republic of Congo, takes them to 10 points, takes Congo to 7. So you see how dramatic that switches from 9-9 to 10-7. It's just unfortunate because, in my opinion, the best team in this group is the Democratic Republic of Congo. But they're not out of it yet, but their fate is not in their own hands, something that would have been if they had gotten the win today over the Tunisians. Libya beating Guinea 1-0 in the return leg. I mean, they're both on 3 points now. I think they've both been officially eliminated from qualifying because they cannot catch up to Tunisia with 2 games remaining. So right now, it's still a race between Tunisia and DR Congo, but Tunisia with a massive, massive advantage. In Group B, what happened? Everyone thought this was going to be the group of death. Nigeria, Algeria, Cameroon, and Zambia. But Nigeria's running away with it, sitting on 10 points. Could have come away with the full 6 points against Cameroon with a win yesterday. Victor Moses arguably should have put the Super Eagles ahead 2-0. But Cameroon came back into the match through a Vincent Abubakar penalty. But it wasn't enough for Cameroon because Nigeria on 10 points, Cameroon with only 3 points from 4 games, 3 draws, 0 wins, and 1 loss, 1 very big loss. They cannot catch the Super Eagles. They need 6 more points, but then I put them at 9. Too much of a deficit to make up. So Cameroon, the African champions, are eliminated. They will not be at the World Cup next year. And then I believe Zambia defeated Algeria again. Oh my God. So they defeated Algeria across 2 legs, both home and away, 3-1 and 1-0. I don't know what happened in that match. Did Algeria just give up and roll over, or is Zambia now on the rise? So, Algeria have, I believe, still just 1 point from 4 games. They're gone. They're done. They're out. So, the biggest threat to Nigeria now in this group, looking like it's Zambia, who can still catch the Super Eagles, but it's going to be very difficult for them to do it. I believe they're on 7 points, so they're not far behind Nigeria, who's on 10. But their next game, Zambia, is going to be out on the road in Nigeria, so the Super Eagles will have an advantage. Now, if Nigeria win that game, they're through to the World Cup. But here's the tricky part. If Nigeria drops points at home to Zambia, let's say, for example, if it ends 1-1, then that'll make up for a very interesting final match day with Nigeria on 11, Zambia on 8, but with Nigeria having to play Algeria on the road and Zambia playing at home against Cameroon. So if the very worst case scenario here would be Nigeria, let's say, losing on the road to Algeria and then Zambia beating Cameroon, Zambia having the advantage because they play at home, that would put both teams on 11 points, and it'll come down to goal difference. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. just to give you an idea of different scenarios, Nigeria is most likely going to qualify, and they can do it with a win next month, with one game to spare, so they can win against Zambia, and then they're through. So Nigeria looking relatively comfortable, but not safe entirely just yet. And then Group C, Gabon. Wow, Gabon getting a surprise victory on the road in the Ivory Coast, their first win of the campaign. I think their first couple of goals scored in this campaign, in this group. Ivory Coast having a slip up. They're still on 7 points, but Morocco, the same team that sliced open Mali last week 6-0, could not repeat that performance or even get a win this week in the return leg in Mali. The game ended 0-0. And I imagine for the Atlas Lions, that has to be very frustrating because that game was played after the Ivory Coast-Gabon match, and Morocco, having seen Gabon beat Ivory Coast, must have been thinking to themselves, wow, if we can get another win here, we go ahead of the Ivory Coast on the table on points. We would have, I believe they would have 8 points or 9 points, I'm not sure, and they'd be 1 or 2 points ahead of the Ivory Coast. But it was a huge opportunity wasted because how often do you see Ivory Coast drop points? Almost never, right? So, Ivory Coast, despite losing to Gabon, are still at the top of Group C, though I think they are only 1 point ahead of Morocco. Still, the advantage considering they play Morocco at home, so Ivory Coast still has to be considered the favorite to come through this group. Golden opportunity for Morocco wasted. In Group D, this group is tight. This group is the tightest of the bunch. Cape Verde Islands have come back from the depths of despair with 0 points, 2 defeats of South Africa, both 2-1 victories, to bring them to 6 points and second place in this group, only on goal difference to Burkina Faso, who are also on 6 points. Look at this table. Burkina Faso with 6 points, Cape Verde Islands with 6 points, Senegal with 5 points, South Africa with 4 points. All 4 teams are within 2 points of each other. It's going to be an epic race to the finish. I have no idea how it's going to transpire, but Burkina Faso with a slight advantage. Cape Verde Islands are back into the conversation. They were on 0 points. The only team to win both their games this international break in this group. They're a huge threat now to qualify for the World Cup. Burkina Faso scraped a draw last night against Senegal. 2 draws, both in Senegal and Burkina Faso. And they did so while playing with 10 men for a good portion of the second half. So that's impressive. So this group is tight. I don't know who the favorites are now at this point. But I do have to say I think South Africa might be in a lot of trouble because their 2 last games are against the 2 toughest opponents in the group, which are Burkina Faso and Senegal. And then in Group E, Egypt doing just enough to scrape by with Mohamed Salah. Big surprise. A narrow 1-0 victory over Uganda. The goal came in the 6th minute. I don't like 1-0 scorelines for most of the match, especially when the goal scored early, because it makes the whole match nervous for me, and it gives the opponent the opportunity to come back into the game and equalize or even go on to win in the worst case scenario. But, the basic bare minimum, the minimum requirement was accomplished. So Egypt are on 9 points now. It's by no means over. 2 points ahead of Uganda. It's going to come down to the last 2 match days. Absolutely critical. Our next game at home against Congo. Speaking of Congo, they showed a lot of promise when they drew when they drew Ghana last week. But now they got thrashed at home 5-1. So now part of me is thinking, has Ghana come back? Is Ghana now, are they now re-emerging as a viable candidate to reach the World Cup again for the fourth time in a row? Because their first two games, they registered 1 point. Their last game, they registered 1 point, so they got 2 points from 3 games. And then all of a sudden, they thrashed Congo on the road 5-1. So now I'm thinking, we got to play these guys on the road in Accra next month. So I'm scared. I'm scared because we don't look like we're going to score very many goals. So we got to play Ghana, who's fighting for survival, at home next month. Then we better take care of business at home against Congo before we have to meet the Ghanaians. So that group looks like Egypt with 9, Uganda with 7, Ghana with 5, and Congo with 1. Congo is eliminated, but now it is a 3-way race for only 1 spot. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment below, like, subscribe. What are the highlights for you from this international break for African football? What are your thoughts? What 5 teams do you think are going to go to the World Cup from Africa? Until then, I'll see you in my next video. Much love and peace out.